Hi everybody, thanks for attending our session this afternoon. It's been a long day. I hope you've had a good time so far, picked up lots of useful information. So yes, in our session today, we want to be talking to you about how you can make more out of your data, get a better understanding of your customers using our tools, Duplicare and Business Insights. So as Emma mentioned, if I click on the right bit of the screen, so there's myself, Mark Carrington, and Matt Beard on the call today, and we've also got Anthony Allen around for any commercial queries. He's our managing director. But it's largely a technical session to see how you can get the most out of your Dynamics database using our sort of off-the-shelf ISV tools. A quick bit of background about Data8. I'm not going to read through all that, but basically we are a highly experienced company in the Microsoft space around data quality. The bit I particularly like to call out is the bit at the bottom about the security accreditations that we've got. Obviously, anything to do with data is highly charged around security questions at the moment. It's something we're well used to, so we're proud to have all those certifications to help cover off any of those queries that you might have. And a little bit about scale. So we do have clients all around the world, and call out a few of them at the bottom there. One particular one useful to call out is Dynamic Communities, who actually host D365 UG. So any new signups they have will come through our software to make sure that they are deduplicated and they've got a single view of all their members. So we've probably processed your data as part of doing that already. And a little bit more about scale. So just for our Duplicare product, we've processed tens of millions of records. This is slightly out of date now. This is about a year out of date now, so we'll be well past 100 million records processed through Duplicare directly. And across all our channels, we're into hundreds of billions of records since the company was founded back in 2005. So we understand scale. We understand what we're about. And what that is largely split into these four areas. So we can largely say what we do is either real-time validation as data is coming in. We're going to show you a very quick demo of that, I think, during today, which is helping you enter addresses, other sort of contact details, phone numbers, email addresses, that sort of thing, accurately and consistently as the user is actually entering it at the front end. And then a whole bit about managing that data over time. So a large part of that is the Duplicare product we're going to look at today, about deduplicating that data, so keeping on top of how that data changes. Data-driven marketing, this will sort of come into the Business Insights tool, how you can get more out of your data to drive your marketing in any sort of automated way. And then making sure those tools are integrated into the systems that you use day to day. So we do integrate into an awful lot of tools, but the whole Microsoft Dynamics and Power Platform stack is a real key part of what we're about there. We use it all day to day, so we know the D365 stack inside out. We do have 7 solutions today listed on AppSource. These are links if you download these slides afterwards, or just search for us on AppSource. All these are available for you to try out today. They are largely all available for on-premise as well, for any on-premise users. So if you want it for on-premise, just give us a shout and we can get you the solution file to install. So it's enough sort of background. Let's have a look at what Duplicare is about specifically, first of all. So out of the box, we're trying to improve the out of the box duplicate detection and merging process. So if you've been around the CRM product for a long time, we've got CRM4 from 2007 on the left, and we've got more recent versions Dynamics on the right. And it's basically the same options that you've got now as then. Basically nothing has changed in the past 13 years on this, which is kind of disappointing that Microsoft haven't sort of paid more attention to this area, but it does mean that we can hopefully help you out a bit. So over those 13 years, you can do exact matches on different record type, different fields within your records to find duplicates, and that's basically about it. The only change over that time period is they've allowed you to exclude inactive records from your duplicate detection jobs. But that's it. Otherwise, apart from the colors changed. That's also, you can't use that in unified interface. If you're not doing that, you're still back to the classic interface. That's going at the end of the year, so I hope at some point this might move over, but you never know. If you run one of those rules and try and find all your duplicates, frankly, this is a horrendous user interface. If you ever try to actually resolve any serious number of duplicates through this, you've probably done the same as I did, which was to give up. In fact, this has got slightly worse over the last 13 years because the styling changes actually mean you can see less on screen at a time. And if you're trying to resolve hundreds of thousands of records, it's not going to work. Again, you can't do that in the unified interface either. Merging, exactly the same. Again, you can merge two records, and for each field you can choose whether you want to take the data from the first record or the second record, and that's it. It's in the unified interface. It's exactly the same. You can access it. And they have added one update over the years, which is that you can merge cases. But if you're wanting to merge your custom entities, you're wanting to merge opportunities, anything like that, you're out of luck. So Duplicare comes from trying to improve these various aspects of making it much more possible to work with these sort of common data quality issues. I think deduplication has to be one of the most common and most visible data quality issues that people have in their data. The data's already in CRM. You don't want to sort of have to extract it and play with it in another tool and push it back in again. This data is being worked on every minute of every day. You can't have that sort of outage to take the data away, fiddle with it, push it back. It has to be there and being worked on. And you want to be able to control everything from within CRM. So Duplicare is really about trying to touch on all these points. So it's seamlessly integrated into the Dynamics interface. It's all configured within Dynamics. It's all run from within Dynamics. Your data's processed as far as possible within Dynamics. And it should all be absolutely intuitive to use for anybody that uses Dynamics day to day. It should be a really intuitive experience. So that's what Dynamics is all about. We're going to get into a demo of that very shortly, but before we get into that, I'm going to introduce our second tool we're going to look at, which is our Business Insights tool. So Business Insights is all about trying to get more factual company information available to you within your Dynamics system. So things like financial information, who owns who are the directors, who are shareholders, what the company SIC and employee details are, all the stuff that you can use to help drive automated marketing campaigns, help do automated decision making on either credit or should this company be routed to your key account team if it's a really large prospect. All this stuff, getting this hard factual data into your Dynamics system, which you can then use for all these different purposes. So really that's enough slides. So I'm going to hand over to Matt to take us through a live demo of those systems.
Okay, let me switch screen. I've got too many screens. I will probably share the wrong one. Right, hopefully that is sharing. Can we see that? I guess someone will shout at me if we can't. No, we're still not. Someone else has started sharing. Let's try again.
Yeah.
You can see that. Okay. I don't know why Teams has decided to go a minute full screen. There we go. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you very much, Mark. So I will do Duplicare at the start. I know we're sort of showing two potentially. I'll very much make a point of going full stop of end of one, start of another, and we'll move on from there. So if there's any questions at any point, feel free to chuck them in. I've got it on the other screen so I can hopefully catch them as they're coming in as well. So where do we start? The very first thing that we did with this tool was we wrote a wish list. We wrote what we wanted to use, what we wanted to build and use internally, and then if we use it, other people are going to want to use it as well. So the first thing that got to us, especially, was if you look at a system like this and you look at open leads, you don't normally have just 2 duplicates. You have 3, 4, 5, dozens of them. And a lot of people I've seen, they want their day-to-day users to handle the data and their sort of duplicates. And if you're trying to persuade your everyday users to merge those two, then those two, then those two, then you're sort of going to fight a losing battle, because they're just going to lose confidence. And if they see this in their system already, they're going to go, well, it's not my fault. I don't want to go and sort all them. That's not my responsibility. So it's on somebody else. And then snowball, snowball, snowball. You just end up with a system that is much more difficult to manage. So having said that, the very first thing we did was we've now got 4, and we've still got a merge button. So that user experience hasn't changed, and we've tried to stick very closely to the user experience that people are used to. So if you decide to use this tool within your system, it doesn't require a vast amount of retraining, because people instinctively just do these things anyway. So the 4 records that are the same, and I press and merge. And what that does is that pops me open a new window. Now, this is a much more powerful window, but once you actually dig into it and you realize what it's doing, actually, it's not much more complex. It's quicker. So what we're basically seeing here is 4 columns. That's the 4 records that I selected, with a 5th column, which is the output record. So this helps you visualize that when you commit this and you push this through to your system, this is what it's going to look like at the very end. So you can really visualize the entire record, which, in the world where you're coming from doing 2 at a time, you've got to always think in terms of left and right, and it's just, you can't visualize it, you can't see it, and you make a mistake early on, and that's it. You're relatively stuffed. There's not much you can do. So what this is trying to do instead is just give you this visualization of what you want to see. So on what we've got here is, behind every single field, there is an entire set of configuration you can put in to make the rules work for you. So what I mean by that is, first name is an example here. What I take the longest first name. So out of my 4 variations of my name, the Matthew is the one that won these rules. So therefore, that is why Matthew is in that field there. If you decide you want to overrule that, all you need to do is you just drag and drop it. So you want that one instead. Things are going red. The red is just to help you highlight what might not be visible on the end record, because as you do your merges through, it might go to inactive record, or it might even overwrite the data that's on the existing record. So it's just to help you visualize what data you're potentially sort of putting in the bin or putting to one side. Just helps you see that. So I'll go for the mat in that case. I've got clever rules though, so I'm not just taking just one. So my job title is, we do have a longer demo which explains why these values are in here and not randomly in there. But what I've taken is the 4 options here, and I've concatenated them, but then I've also removed the duplicate. So we've got developer, dog owner, and daddy. So they're the 3 potential different job titles of the 3 versions being the system. So I'm not just picking left or right. I'm doing even cleverer stuff than that. As I was dragging, you saw me do it earlier, a few things went yellow. That actually means I'm not now restricted to be within the same field. The benefit of that, and thankfully I'm talking to I guess a mainly English, at least European audience, which is that you can tell which sort of a mobile number is compared to a landline. US, it's a little bit more difficult. And I can tell you that is an incorrect mobile number. Well, no, it's not. It's a valid one, but it's in the wrong place. It should be a mobile phone. So instead, I can sort that out at this point. I can put them in the right place instead of left or right in. And then some other examples of cool things you can do. So email addresses, these 2 records. So this is a mat.beard. This is a different email address that's on any other record, but it's only an email one. So doing it the old way, again, the problem I would have is picking left or right. There would become a point where I would have to pick between that or that. So one of them emails is going to go. It might be valid. Why are you throwing data away that's potentially valid that can get you to where you want it to be? So instead, what our rule's done, again, we've configured this as email, and you can make it as it works for you. The Mat B one is the most important one. It's in there 3 times, so that goes into 1. But instead of being in that one, let's just automatically put an email to. So keep it, but just maybe lesser important. It's in a field that we use slightly less, but nonetheless, it's still in the system, which is more than we've had before. And things like option sets. So I'm in the system 4 times. Actually, this is probably more than likely a hot lead rather than a warm lead. And I can make all the decisions. I go through all the forms. What I can do if I want to is I can expand others. So that's all other fields. Most people aren't going to go in there, but if there's a real use case for your business for doing so, you can do that. And then when I've made my decision, I can press merge. Now, the one question that people always ask at this point is, which is the record that stays alive? That is here. So you can see we have master, make master, make master, make master. This is the record that stays alive at the end. And again, you can figure that behind the scenes. By default, we have earliest created on if you were to put an overrule in, but you can have that anything you want it to be to prioritize those. But you can overrule them by just pressing those buttons. And I just press merge. And now what that's doing is that behind the scenes is calculating the most efficient way of doing all these things. And it's still actually doing a merge. So in the code behind the scenes, it's still doing a merge request. So if you've got plugins that fire off merge, if you've got things that are related on the fields they use, so master ID and all those things, they're all still used. So we're not doing anything sort of clever with that other than the most efficient way possible in doing it. So you can see that I did those, and I can now go to close leads. And I've now got 3 closed as merged as yes. So that's just using the out of the box merge that's there. And that's it. On a single click, I've done 3 and managed that data correctly. Now,
great question, Matt. We've got a question, can it be run against custom entities?
Yes, hold the thought. I'll be there in about 2 minutes. So yes is the short answer, but I will show you that working. So yes, so now what we find, and we find this with, I would say, most of our customers, some don't get there or some don't want to get there, which is you build the rules up on a merge rule to be so granular that you go, I'm not making changes now. These rules just work for me. So when you get to that stage, you can optionally turn on a thing we call quick merge. So now you can see here, I've got 9 records all selected, as well as merge. I've got quick merge. So I can now press that. And what that's doing is the same thing, but what you're not seeing is the interim pop-up stage. That's going to calculate all the rules on the output record, and that's just merged all of them based on those rules in one single click. So again, I go to close leads, and now what you see is all closed, all merged. What you don't see in UCI that you used to see a long time ago is this record was merged with. That could still be done if you wanted to do that. All the data behind the scenes is still set, but that's actually a change in UCI that Microsoft themselves made. One of the new things that we've got that, in fact, we only sort of released last week was that the other place you can do this sort of stuff now is from Advanced Find. So if I now was to do Advanced Find for all accounts, and I select 1, 2, 3, 4 records, I've got the same experience there. So I can do that from an Advanced Find window now, as well as just sort of navigating here. Some people like the button there. I didn't even realize it was there until we had a customer request to put it in there. So that shows how much I knew that part of the system. But the point is, it's the same. Again, it's not requiring a retrain of what people already know. I better hurry up because I'm going to run out of time. The other thing that we've got before I move on to Scott's question and some demos around that area is a thing called Remember This Record. So this is if you don't want to use Advanced Find. This is if you just want to have a natural way of navigating around the system. And the reason that this came into play was a company that began with ABC Limited, renamed themselves into company XYZ Limited, and they wanted to be merged together. So you had to find an Advanced Find or Save View, or just enough to get them on the screen so you can tick and whatever. And it was against sometimes the people's natural flow. So the other thing we've introduced now is a thing called Remember This Record. So I can go into this record and press Remember. And then I can carry on, navigate and go to a different one. I can go to this one. I can remember that one, move slightly in the ribbon at this point, and then I can go to a third, and I can now go to merge remembered. So again, that's now a third way I've got of putting these records next to each other. Just depends how people want to find them, right? It's easy when all the records fit on the screen at the same time. But if you've got to sort of jump here, there, and everywhere because the records are different in the order of your views, then it's just you've got now multiple ways of getting to that same point. Accounts, contact, leads, cases as well. They're the ones out the box that you can do naturally without anything else. Opportunities, this is one you can't, but what I've done is that we've now got the configuration the same for opportunities. Same experience. I do a merge window, looks exactly the same. You wouldn't know any different. The rule here is clever. So instead of being a left or right, it's a sum this time. Handling things like currency value. So if you're dollars and pounds, we would handle those sorts of things. And again, you can just merge. Now, strictly speaking, this isn't doing the merge behind the scenes because, quite frankly, it's impossible and the system will not let you do it. So we spent, other than breaking a CRM system, that wasn't me. we spent a long time learning what CRM does on a merge, things like related records, all these sorts of stuff. And we basically recreated as much of that behavior as we possibly were allowed to within the Microsoft world. So almost everything that you see it do is the same. I will move on from this broken CRM system and carry on. And what you see here, custom entities. So this is a demo for Scott, and it basically is exactly, I named it custom entity because that was the strongest way of demoing it. And what I see in custom entity 1 is some children. In this case, I have 3. If I then flick to a second one, I've now got 7. I then do the same process, but in this case, I'll actually do a quick merge just because it's the same thing. I've now got 1 with 1 inactive. I go to my active one. I look at the subordinates. I've done the same sort of behavior you would expect. So child records moving and that sort of stuff all moving across. Now, the way you build these rules, and I think this sort of answers a question that's in the chat as well, is that everything we do is done in entities. What that means is your ALM approach is easy if you want to move up between prod to UAT. No, you wouldn't go that way. Other way, dev UAT to prod. Because we do it all as entities, it's nice and easy. You can take your data out, you can push it in. You've not got any crazy configuration difficulties to do it. Everything we do is stored within the system. And all you do is you make a new one of these merge plus rules, and then when you save it, we do all the magic. We'll handle the merge buttons, we'll handle everything behind the scenes. We do everything. We just do it all on save. So as soon as you press save on these, what you get is the merge button there. Now, if you click into one of these, what you see is this is where you build your own rules. So there's some stuff in there about master selection, and I won't go into it in this because this is a bit techie, and it's a bit more of a deep dive one. But you can see here that I can really start building up rules for every single field in as granular level as I want to. We do have all these made for sort of out of the box entities, so we can help you out because people don't want to make all these fields all the time. I understand that, so we can help you out with that. So that's just merging, and I've already spoke 15 minutes, so I probably should get a move on. Because that's great when you can see them on the screen, right? If you can see your duplicates and you just want to tick them, then fantastic. But people's system isn't like that. If you've got crazy names and finding duplicates and that sort of stuff, you want to be able to find them, stop them, and do that sort of stuff. So the first assumption I ask you to make right now is let's pretend you've got no duplicates in your system. We know everybody probably has, but let's just go with it for now. And what I want to do is I want to prevent duplicates coming in the future. Now, what you need to do is you need to define what a duplicate is. And this is normally out the box done with your duplicate detection rules. They're a bit restricted. So we have the plus version. So again, we sit on top of it as a layer on top of it. So for my contact rules, what we're seeing in here, so there's some stuff I won't go through and we'll go through. I'm doing contact to contact. This is a real-time rule. So I want to run this at the point of entry. Global search I'll move on to. And then also I want to only search records visible to me. So listen to security roles and that sort of stuff. I don't want to see duplicates of records I'm not allowed to see. So in that case, sort of that's the default behavior. And in this system, a duplicate is the same person at the same account, basically. It's an active contact with a fuzzy person name match, a first name, last name, and a fuzzy company name match of the contact account's name. So you can sort of see that relationship there, and it handles the tiers. And you can build these rules up as much as you want. So one of the limits you've got on the system right now is you've got, I think it's 5 rules per entity you can have. But I can start doing crazy things like this, and I can and all this, and I can really start getting super complex, which means there is now no upper limit. Behind the scenes, we're still going to use 1, and then everything else lives within this rule now. So there is now no upper limit on how complex you want to make your rules. Exact match is as you would guess an exact match, but the extra thing it's got on it is that I can now go into here. Nope, that was delete. I can now go into, let's pick one, I go street 1. I've got some options. I can now do things like misspelling rate, so allow a 40% misspelling rate, and again, it's not quite as exact makes it sound, but it's much more powerful than you've got out of the box. What else do we have? We have exact match across fields. I mean, let's be honest, how many times can you be sure that email 1, email 2, or email 3 are in the same field? So now you could do that. Any combination of these fields sort of cross-matching each other is the duplicate. There's a company name we've been through, but if you look in here again, dozens of options. Not going to go through it now. Much more time for a deep dive in that one, but you get the point. Fuzzy address name, fuzzy person name, single value. That's your filter there. Non-conflicting, so that's like a value and a blank can match, but 2 different values can't. So membership IDs, for example, you could use that there. and then a rule around pick lists in the multi-select pick lists that got introduced in the latest version of Dynamics. But in this case, that's what we think a duplicate is going to be. So I'm going to go and enter a contact. So I'm going to go and enter a new contact right here. And this is just a new contact here, and I'm going to start typing naturally. So I'll use a friend of mine who's a good example for this, and I'll start typing his name. Nope, didn't want that one there. I wanted that. So he works for Data8, and I just start typing. And as you can see, as I'm typing, I've not done anything. I've not gone to save. I've not clicked anywhere, and I've quickly been given a bit more feedback, because generally you have to wait right until the end before you see what a duplicate is. So we try to intercept that and go, whoa, slow down just a second, and just make that job a little bit easier for them. So you can see there that actually that's a link to a record that I think could be a duplicate, so I can go and view that one there if I wanted to. I've been told there it could be a duplicate with one record. If that was multiple, you'd see all of them listed here. So there's multiple ways you can put them in there, but let's pretend, and I will just carry on and I'll ignore it. Like, let's be honest, we all know some of our users are going to do. And I press save. Now I see this window. This window we haven't changed. This is absolutely the out-of-the-box window. But if you look at the duplicate that found, the surname is typed differently. The first name is spelled entirely differently. The only commonality that it sounds the same. So there is more than just text in this and text matching. There is sound technologies and all sorts of different technologies that go into this. And that's all I've got. So you can see there that I've managed to just go up that level. And I've managed to find this little duplicate. Now, what do I do at this point? You've got two options, which you've got ignore and save or cancel. So you either translate it, that means, yeah, I know it's a duplicate, I'll sort it out another day, and then I don't go and do that. Or I cancel it, I then go, okay, fine, I'll go and find the other record, and I'll put that email address in, and then I'll forget to copy it out, and I'll go, oh, I've just lost that email address. So what we've done here is we've introduced option 3. So we've put a merge button on. Now, I say merge, it's not strictly a merge because this record doesn't exist. And you can see that by the fact that it says ghost contact. We call it a ghost contact because it only exists right now on your system, it's sort of in your browser's memory. But what it's done is it's applied all the same rules that we had in place before. So you can see that email address that we got, it didn't overrule the one we already had, but in fact, it's gone into email 2 because it still is important. I make any decisions and I hit merge. Now, again, not a merge. What that really is doing is an update. So now what that's done instead is close my other record, took me to a record that already existed here, but has now added that new bit of data into it instead. So it's just a nicer flow through. It doesn't feel like at any point you've got to leave and copy and paste stuff out and leave it in a weird place. So it's just, it's all about user experience. If you can make people's user experience work, then they keep to it. Now, that's one way of finding duplicates. The problem that we always had, and we had it, and I have no doubt that other people on the call have had it, is that you get a phone call, and it's Lewis on the phone, and you need to find him quickly in your system, but you don't realise it's Lewis, and you put Louis. How do you find that person in the system with all sorts of stars in weird places and whatever? This is where we use this thing called global search. Now, what this does, and this is similar to, you saw it say global search enabled in my rule, is that I can make a rule specifically for this global search. Now, what this is going to do is it is basically be a form. I can put some stuff into, I can press go. It's going to search across my whole system. So I can now look for Data8. I can look for Lewis in the way I think it's spelt. I can make the same typos, the same mistakes. I put Data8, notice I've spelt the number 8 out. And I press search. That's running across all my live system, across all the rules that are global search enabled to find the results. So I must have an account one that's done global search enabled, and you can see not only did it find the exact match, it found Data8 limited. So that's a fuzzy match on the 2 different words. And it actually found the contact itself. So I could just go and open that contact and I'm straight there if I want it. Now, if that person doesn't exist and I still want to make them, I don't want to type anything out again that I've already got. So I can just create as a new contact, and that's just going to pop me up, open a new contact with those fields pre-filled in, just to save me some time. That's all it's doing, but it's a nice little way of saving some time for people and doing that. So you can have rules that work for your real time, just for your global search. But what I did do was I asked you to pretend your system was perfect, and let's be honest, a lot of people's aren't. So what you do is you spend all this time building these rules and you go, yeah, that rule that really works, I'd like to apply it in batch as well. So how do you do that? So if you're on a rule, again, same rule I made, it's as simple as a button press up there. So what I do is I press run batch on that. I will go in here, I give it some details. So I'm the owner, obviously. The rule set that it runs, so because I came from there, it's pre-filled out already. Auto merge it. So if I find duplicates, when I come back, do I want the mergers to be done already in a quick merge? We will often get to a point where I say with clients when they're at quick merge level and when they're happy with the digit rules, they will run one of these and they will take all of their system. They will do one big massive cleanse on a Friday and they'll come in on the Monday and they'll have no duplicates. So that scenario where I say to you, pretend you have no duplicates. Once you get your rules right, it's as simple as ticking that yes, and you can keep on top of it. And filter master, filter candidate is a way of, think of a Venn diagram and try and draw it. The Venn diagram with the two circles matching. It's your left and your right circles. So where you find a duplicate from and in. So I want to find all duplicates from contacts. Have I got a view like this? There you go. Created in the last 7 days in all of my, can't spell, active contacts. So this is where I can start limiting what I'm searching between. If I leave them blank, I'm going to do all contacts in my system. And finally, store duplicate ID is a way that we can put something back in your system. So if you're still someone that likes to work in Excel and those types of things, you can pull that, or Power BI. Let's be honest, I should probably be a bit more modern these days. Pull your data into there. You can start doing analysis there instead if you want to sort of see and batch what we're going to do in your results. And I press save. Now, the question normally comes at this point: how does this run? What does this do? Blah blah blah. Now, there is a 2-minute timeout with anything you do within Dynamics, within CDS, within DataFlex Pro, whatever we're saying. And there's a lot of data. If you've got millions of records, we simply can't do it in 2 minutes. Now, so what actually happens right now is that we calculate the minimum amount of data that we need from you to make these decisions. And through the SDK, it gets extracted out, which always then poses the question, where does the data live? Which is fine. And as we understand data security, so what I'll do is I'll pop that open while it loads. Can't do a new tab on that. That's fantastic. So I will go to there. And previously, before this year, it was only data hosted. So we're still big on security. It's absolutely perfectly safe in our systems. Mark mentioned ISO, Cyber Essentials, etc., etc. Some people still didn't want to leave their country, and I understand that. So in my demo right now, I only have East US Azure and UK South Azure. If you have a local Azure center that you would rather your data live in for a very short period, might I add, it only lives there whilst we use it. So a few minutes, a few hours at most, unless you've got a crazy complex system. Then you can pick where it resides, because that's always important to people. But in this case, I'll stick with the Data8 hosted one. So that's where I was. Sorry. You get this model-driven app included, by the way, if you're ever curious to have a play with the stuff. So here, there's the job that's processing. So you can see that's waiting to run. That's not actually finished yet. If I go to all, I'll have a couple more jobs there. There you go. So that one's still running. That's the one I made because, like I say, it's processing it on our side. And there you go. It's actually completed. In the meantime, I will go to one I made earlier, and I will go to the contact one. So this is a similar one that I made just prior to this. That's the same, just read only now. But I have a results tab visible now with some stats in it. So how many records, how many unique records, how many duplicates. GDPR red flags is permissions. So your email, do not allow email. What that means is that within the grouping, so you can see groups down here, there is a conflict of consent. One of them says allow emails, one of them says do not allow emails, and you might have a restricted decision to make, or you need to make sure you're handling consent properly. That's all that's trying to warn you of. And you've got two options, which is, it's easy this demo. I've only got 2 groups of duplicates. If I had more, then it would be a bit longer for me. So I can either open a specific one, or again, I can press resolve duplicates at the top. It's going to pop me open a window. What it's going to do again, same UI now. This is why I do this at the very start, is because we use it in most places. I make all the decisions I want to make. I merge and next that. You can see I've got a little bit more extra here now. So it's going to merge those records. It's going to now, if I'm 50% through, done one of my 2 groups. I'm in the second group now. But I decide for some reason I don't want to merge these. There's a legitimate reason why these are different. So what I can do here is I can decide to I can skip them, and then I can make exclusion rules. So what that means is if I was to go yes on that, that's going to remember they're not duplicates. So next time you run this job, I won't tell you they're duplicates, because if you're going to start scheduling this, which is one thing you can do, you don't want to have to skip the first 5 every time because you know they're not duplicates. So just, again, things to make it more efficient for you. And you can see that I've jumped from left to right with the status reason. And I've got rid of all my duplicates in theory. Now, as I mentioned, you can run these on a schedule. So you can see here I've got a daily dedupe that I'm running as a test. They've run in there. I've not titled it for a few days. Again, you can use the same filter candidates, all this sort of stuff. So this just automatically runs at the time it's ready to go. Because this stuff is just stored as entities, if you don't want to use our scheduling engine and you want to trigger them at your own time, all you need to do is make one of these entities and it will just work. So the scheduling is just there to help you. You don't have to use it if you've got your own better way of doing it. And yeah, now that's most of the tool, right? That's the bulk of the merge and the duplicates. The one extra bit about this tool that I like to talk about because I think it's quite powerful needs a bit of background news on it, which is for us to do things in the most efficient way possible, we had to do some sort of calculations behind the scenes. Addresses and phone numbers. People are never ever consistent in the way they enter phone numbers in the system. If you have a CTI system in place, they also might require it to be formatted in a very specific way. And we had to solve these problems at the very start of our stuff to make it efficient. We had to make sure postcode was in the postcode field and the country was right, and avenue was avenue and not AVE and those things. So we built all the tool behind the scenes, and actually it turned out to be so powerful that it became a fully fledged feature of the tool itself. Now, if you've already got, or if you're looking at address, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like address verification in your system, this is not that, right? This is not a replacement for address verification or validation, because we will not tell you if the address you put in is right or wrong. We will assume it's right, but we'll make it look like a good address. If you want to go the step ahead, there is other tools like our predictive address tool that does that. So that's not a replacement for that. This is just a light version of that, if you will. And I'm sure you're asking, what does that mean or look like? So I go to make a new contact. In fact, no, I'll edit a previous one. Adam West, that'll do. Bonus points if you work out the data I've got on this. No, that's set up from that. Okay, different tool. This is our actual tool, but while I'm there, I will demo it. That is what I'm saying is our address verification. That is actually a real address that's done all the proof. That's not including Duplicare, but I was on the record, so I showed you. What I meant to show you was on lead, excuse me, which I seem to have broken. There we go. And I put in some details, so I will put not my home address, please don't send me spam, in a way that is so unusable for my marketing team that they won't like me. So I type that in there and I press save. It's duplicate, I know that. I will ignore and save on this occasion. So what we're going to do is, there you go. We've standardized that as best we can. So we did add data into it. So we put postcode in the right place. We added a city. We added a street too. That doesn't mean that 39 exists on that road, but we had enough to append stuff to it, but we wouldn't take any poor data away. So that's the very strict difference between those two. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but hopefully that gets the message across. And finally, same for phone numbers. So if I put the phone number in there is different, and I press save, the system is currently set up to show it as international, so you can see that's automatically formatted as international. You can change that to be just national or however you want to do it. And again, that just works on a save. And with that, I think, unless there's any questions, I've not actually got the questions open, or unless I've missed anything, Mark, that's it for Duplicare right now, and I'll show some Business Insights stuff.
Yeah, I'd crack on with Business Insights so I've got time.
Yeah, run out of time. So super quick. Thankfully, this takes nowhere near as long. Business Insights is a way of, like Mark said, enriching it with data, enriching your system with more data to make educate decisions. So what I will use as a sample right now is our sister company, Team Knowledge, who make TK Dialogues. Now, if I go into Team Knowledge, and what I do is I go into here, this is my form, and this is Business Insights. So this is a PCF now in Unified Interface. This is now a PCF. If you're still old school, you can still use web results if you want, but the PCF has got a little bit more better interaction with the screens, I think. I want to get Business Insights on this record, so I do a search. That's going to search our Business Insights database to try and find the matching record. So I find this one, and I press OK on that, and now that's going to make a link through. There you go. So I've now got credit rating, credit limit populated in this grid updated. But actually, if I go to view details, I get way more than that. I have previous names, I have history of credit ratings, I've got company types, I've got SIC codes, I've got any accounts if they're accessible to them. Any contacts, I have a group structure, so you can see there that Data8, team knowledge is part of the Data8 family. I go to related and I look at credit limits, and I've got every single historical credit limit. I've got every single historical credit rating. I can really start using these to my advantage. All the financial details, all sorts of stuff in place. That's it. It's already in my system, just on that single press. It's copied it into all the relevant entities. There is bits of the data you might care about more than others, and you don't want them to be a relationship away. If you like to have your advanced finds looking at the same sort of account entity, what you can configure behind the scenes is this data that lives in these additional entities copies across to the account. So if I now go back to where I previously was, in fact, if I close that and refresh this page, where's refresh gone? There it is. What you will hopefully see now is that the website now populated. So that came from that data. So I enriched the record that was already in my system. Just saves me a hop away. If you don't want it there and you want to leave it in the other place, fine. It's entirely up to you. But that is a useful way of knowing that's there. Now, what else can you do with this sort of data that you've got available? Now, if I jump into the Data8 record, now one of the things that we do, and I think other people will do this as well, is credit ratings, credit limits. So I've got a Data8 record that has a recommended credit limit from Credit Safe of 10 million. For the purpose of my demo, it's 10 million, which means at the point I did that, I was happy to give them 10 million credit because I'm basing it as a one-to-one on that field. Now, something happens over time and people's credit ratings, credit scores change. Now, this stuff is a snapshot, right? So this goes in at the time you make it. It doesn't necessarily update over time. You can use Power Automate to handle that stuff going forward. Or what you can do is you can just press update that says, just copy the latest data in right now. I just want to double check. So imagine this happens overnight, for example. So now what happens is, yeah, you do it overnight, which is certainly what we do for a lot of clients. And that is part of the tool if you want it. We automatically update these overnight. Now, I haven't done this one on purpose for the purpose of this demo. And I update this one now. There we go. So I've done an update. Now, actually, its limit is now 150,000. But what that's done is that's a problem now because my actual credit limit for my account is lower than that. It's higher than that, sorry. And they're not necessarily good for that amount anymore. So what ran behind the scenes, I'm not actually logged into it now, is that we had a flow in Power Automate that ran on that. So if I just refresh that quickly, what you'll see, hopefully, is that because if I go into here, you'll now see that recommended is way lower than the credit. It made a task. So it made a task for me to go, hang on, just go and have a look because you've now got a problem here. You might have a company that's got too much credit. You might have to just keep an eye on it. It might be all right. You never know. But just a way to instinctively show your clients that. Now, this idea of building the task, this isn't within Business Insights. This is things you can do with the data. I just threw this together using Power Automate as a demo. And actually, if I jump into my Teams tenant, you can see here that I actually also, a minute ago, pinged a message on my Teams group to say, hang on, slow down. So you can see there's Power Automate in its true power kicking in with all that data available going, make all these decisions. And what we also have, I think, in here somewhere, I think it's accessible to me. Here you go, accounts leading credit review. So you can now see there. So there's multiple ways of accessing all this same bit of data. I've alerted the salespeople, I've alerted the team, I've made a view. Everybody can look at these things and keep on top of the credit data. And that all came about for me just pressing update. And if you are set up for the overnight updates, which you can optionally do, it would have just happened. So you would come in on the Monday morning and you've now got to go and double check because something has changed through that account. And with that, that's about it. So again, if you were to play with this stuff, which you're welcome to at any point, it's all in app source. We put a model-driven app into all this stuff. And within each model-driven app now we have a configuration app because that's the easiest way of doing it. So duplicate administration, which one you showed earlier. Business Insights is this next configuration. So you would go in here. You need some data, so a username and password, or sorry, an API key in this case. And you reconfigure it. So my accounts was configured. I do some stuff, but this is the important bit. Now, this is all the data I could copy across to the account if I wanted to. So you can see down here. There you go. Every time this updates, I'm copying the value of my monthly latest credit limit into my recommended credit limit field, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's where the config of that goes. And that is pretty much it with 5 minutes left for questions. I think Mark might have a slide or two. But that's it for actual real life demos of stuff.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So yes, I just wanted to cover off probably the most common question. How much is it? So the answer can be it's complicated. So our pricing model, certainly for Duplicare, it's what this one's about. So it's based largely on the size of your database in terms of users and in terms of records that you're wanting to deduplicate. We can also turn individual parts of the product on and off there. Matt's showing you quite how much there is in there. You don't have to take all of that if it doesn't all make sense for you. So please do get in touch, and we can get a package that's going to work for you. We do also give you a full trial. We will extend out for 30 days for attendees here. So do just mention you've been on this when you get in touch. And you will be supported through that trial. We won't just sort of let you install it and figure everything out for yourself. We're happy to help you out and get it set up for you to make sure you're all happy with it. I'm going to leave some contact details on screen here, so you can get in touch through the website. Phone numbers at the bottom there. And two key contacts there are Dale Pilling and Anthony Allen, who will handle any sort of commercial queries. Or you can contact Matt or myself through the UG communities, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the normal places. And with that, I think we are 1 minute over. So yes, let us know if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll maybe see some of you in the Ask the Experts session in a few minutes.
Let me get you a link for all that as well.
I've just put the link in there.
Oh, you're far more organised than I am. Well done.
Thank you, Matt and Mark, for that session. Really good. So much to take in there. So thank you very much, guys. As we said, it is recorded, so feel free to catch up with that on the UG website or on YouTube. And I'd like to offer, if everyone would like to come off mute, to give them all a round of applause, please. Thank you.